Welcome to the Untrapped podcast, where we're motivated and inspired about success, small business, and personal development. And now, Keith Kalfas.
All right, we're live. Welcome back to the Untrapped podcast. This is your host, Keith Kalfas. I'm really excited because we have special guest on, Fred Hodge, $2.4 million exterior cleaning company in New Jersey. Fred is a wealth of information. You're going to tune in and take notes and check this out. Here's the intro. Today, I've got a guest that you are likely to get some serious value from. Fred Hodge is the owner of Clearview Washing out of New Jersey. He's been in business since 2004, serving both residential and commercial clients and building a professional exterior cleaning company that lasted over 2 decades and still growing. But what really stood out to me in talking to Fred, because he was just a special guest on our Untrapped Alliance private group, where we go live every other Wednesday night at keithkalfas.com/alliance. So powerful. It's how he's done it. That's what's so impressive to me. Fred's superpower is lead generation, hiring strong employees, and building a company culture that actually retains people. And if you run a service business, you already know that finding, training, and keeping good people is one of the hardest parts of growing. A lot of guys can do the work. Very few can build the team. Either get overwhelmed and don't do it all, or grow and then shrink back down because they're overwhelmed. And so today we're going to talk about how Fred generates consistent leads, some stuff about hiring the right people, and what he looks for when he trains employees, and how to crush it in your blue-collar service business. Bro, what's up, Fred?
Nothing much, Keith. Thanks for having me, brother.
Awesome. Can you speak a little bit closer to the microphone?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, perfect. Because mine's like right in my face, and I want our audio to match. So talk a little bit about your business, how long you been in business. I met you in person in Colorado, I think it was last winter, at a jobber event. And instantly, as soon as I met you, I noticed like when I was talking, I was like almost kind of like, I was brought to the attention that you pay very close attention and you're a phenomenal listener. And you don't seem to be somebody who's like, you're not driven by your ego at all. You have growth and gratitude. So what's up, bro?
Nothing much, man. Obviously, it was a pleasure finally getting to connect last year in Denver for the jobber get together. And obviously, this is our 22nd year in business. So it's been a pretty wild ride that I've been doing it more than half my life. But it's a family-owned business. So I'm working alongside my wife, my dad, my mother, and even my brother used to be our operations manager, but he had entrepreneurial spirit himself, and he bought a pool cleaning and restoration company. So we kind of lost him a few years ago, but at the end of the day, it's a full-on family business.
That's amazing. So how many employees currently do you have, and what services do you offer?
Yeah, so we have in the height of the season about 26 employees, and basically we're offering window washing, power washing. We're doing Christmas lights. We shrink wrap outdoor furniture. We do gutter cleaning, roof cleaning, chandelier cleaning, basically all different forms of cleaning. But that's our bread and butter here in New Jersey.
You said chandelier cleaning. I've tried that before, and I was like, whoa, I don't want to offer that service no more. So you must have if you have 26 employees. Because I said chandelier cleaning, for anybody knows, it looks easy on the outside, but then once you get into it, it's a very careful thing. But
no one does it. It's crazy. No one does it. Like all the other
about it for a minute.
The other window cleaning and power washing companies, no one does it. So I get calls from all over the state of New Jersey that people are always looking for it, and I'm like, all right. And now there's like multiple ways to clean a chandelier. Like they're not all the same. So every time you get one, it depends on what it's made of, what the height, the access, how whether you can take it apart, what you can actually access. There's a lot that goes into it. And yes, there's a liability. Have I broken a crystal before and had to replace it? Yeah. But have I also gotten paid thousands of dollars to clean chandeliers? Yeah. So at the end of the day, whenever I'm working with our SEO company, they're always like, we don't even need to promote this. Like you come up so great. I'm like, because no one does it. It's crazy how like all the other companies that are like us that doing window washing, they want no part of it, like you said. So I saw an opportunity there years ago. And some of these homes we service, because like our company is about 70% commercial. And when I say commercial, that includes HOAs, condos, all that stuff. We put that in the commercial bucket. And then 30% high-end residential. And those 30% high-end residential, they have multiple chandeliers in a home. So we've gotten paid 8 to 10 grand to clean all the chandeliers in the home before. So like, to me, it's like, you know what? Let's do it right. We got steamers sometimes. We got special glass cleaners sometimes. Like, each job is so different. But at the end of the day, it goes from dull to sparkling, and the customer's thrilled. And some of them have a lift, they come to the ground. Some of them don't. Like, they're all different. But it's a nice add-on service that we've had for many, many years now.
So you can make tons of money cleaning stuff.
Yeah.
So you started your business as Chuck in a truck. Then you grew into Possibility Pete, we call it. It's where it's like you're in the truck and you got some employees, but you're wearing all these hats and you've got the ambition, but you're still kind of stuck in the truck. And then you got out of the truck and then you grew into Abundant Anthony. It's like where you got some systems in your business, but you've scaled beyond those customer avatars. I mean, these kind of avatars we talk about, and you've really, really grown your business to 26 employees. You have company events. And can you talk a little bit about the process of bringing employees into your company and creating a culture and running an abundant business versus something where you're like just barely making it and complaining about how it sucks, like the polar opposite of that?
Well, let me start off by saying we started off with a 95 Ford Taurus back in 2004 with a ladder rack on it. And I remember like the ladder would start to shift and go sideways. Like, it was like, looking back, it was so gangster. And I can't find any pictures of it. It kills me because I know there's somewhere, but like, we've looked and I can't find any pictures of it because I'd love to show like, this is where we came from. And anytime me and my wife present on stage at any of the different conferences and stuff like that, we always show the growth pattern of the company. And like, those first like 10 years, it looks like prairie land. Like, it looks like there is an increase, but it's so minimal. Like, it looks like flatline. And then my wife likes to say that then all of a sudden it started to hit the Rocky Mountains when she came on board, and she's not lying. But that's when we introduced the proper systems and processes into the company. When she first met me, I was living in my bachelor pad, and I had stacks of like those estimates where you'd have like the white with the yellow with the pink and the carbon copies, and you'd rip them off. And I had all these, I obviously gave the customer the white copy, and I had stacks of the yellow and the pink, both estimates and invoices sitting in there. And that's when we discovered Jobber. I'm like, I gave her like 5 different CRMs, and I'm like, find the best one for our company. And she came back, and she would like on her lunch break at her paralegal job at the law firm, she would like do like a one of those like test run calls with each of the companies. And then she came back one day, she's like, yeah, we're going with Jobber. I'm like, all right. And that's where like, that was step one in the process of like, okay, if we're going to scale this thing, we need to be more automated, more current, and we need a proper CRM because that's the brain of the operation. And then we've kind of added on all types of stuff that kind of complements and works with Jobber. Again, that's the brain, but we also have arms and legs and stomach and everything else. So we've added so many different things to it that complement it really well. But I think even our QuickBooks coach, he jokes that he says that we're actually not an exterior cleaning company. We're a technology company that offers exterior cleaning. And I'm like, wow, I'm like, that's pretty interesting to look at it that way, because at the end of the day, we really are technology driven in every aspect. So the softwares and the behind the scenes stuff for the customers and the employees, but then even like in our cleaning equipment, like we were obviously using water-fed poles before, like now it's commonplace, but like we were using them 20 years ago when they were aluminum and no one knew what the hell they were. So like we're showing up and I'm spraying this water on people and they're like, you're going to squeegee that off? I'm like, actually, no, it dries clear. And then I'd let like one window dry and then like, oh, it does look really good. Now like people like request it or like they're all about it. And now the competition also uses it. But we were like the first ones in New Jersey using water-fed poles. We got into soft washing instead of just power washing years and years ago. We got into the drone stuff. That didn't really pan out too well, but we got into the drone stuff for a while. I was exploring the robots for the solar panel cleaning. Like we've always been cutting edge when it comes to technology, both with softwares and with the actual cleaning aspect. So at the end of the day, obviously, we've gone a long way with that. And obviously that's like that's what helps us from going from prairie land and to reaching some scalability and actually seeing the business grow. And 2 years ago, we made the Inc. 5000 list, and that was on our radar for a while. And that was really important for us to hit. So like, that was something that I was like, all right, we hit that, and now on to the next goals.
If you are looking for the greatest software ever to run your business on, go to getjobber.com/Keith. You can create proposals, invoices, collect payments, and track your entire business directly on the Jobber smartphone app. If you want to get a totally free trial of Jobber right now, open your browser, type in getjobber.com/Keith, and after the trial, if you decide to sign up with Keith's link, you'll automatically get 20% off your first 6 months. So what are you waiting for? Go to getjobber.com/Keith.
That's freaking awesome. So my brain's going in a million directions. I want to ask you a bunch of questions. Here's a question. What is a time in your business where you went through a really hard time in growing it? And how did you solve that problem and navigate through it?
So I think for our line of work and what we do, I think crossing that $1 million threshold, well, actually getting off the truck was hard. And obviously just getting off there consistently. And like I was joking with you before, like my crews now think I don't know how to clean anymore. Like they're like, oh, Fred doesn't know how to do that, because it's been like 5 or 7 years or whatever it's been since I've been out in the field. But at the end of the day, getting off the truck was really hard, and crossing the $1 million mark was really hard. One year we came down to like the wire. It's like December. I think we were at like 980 grand, and we had like 40 grand worth of approved bids to do the work. But then Mother Nature came and just dumped snow on us, and we didn't cross it that year. And that literally lit a fire under me that year. It was like, all right, this is BS. Like, I can't believe we didn't hit it this year. I'm like, this has got to change. And that's where I think the next year after that, we hit like 1.4 or 1.5. Like we kicked that door down. We're like, all right, you know what? Like, this is like, that wasn't cool. And we knew we had to make some changes. And I think realizing that what got you there isn't the same avenue it's going to get you to your next place. Like, you can't just keep doing the same things. You kind of have to start bringing in people that are better than you at certain stuff, bringing in the sales team, outsourcing and utilizing a reputable lead generation company, really dialing in and harnessing technology even further with the VAs and bringing in AI. Like, we have the Jobber AI set up for after hours and overflow. Like, it's superior. Whatever you think about it, at the end of the day, it's superior to an old school voicemail where they're going to just call someone else after that. At least if you're extracting all their information, they're not just moving on. And people are like, I don't want my customers talking to a robot. Well, you know what? On a Saturday or Sunday afternoon or at 10 p.m., like I do, I'd rather that than a voicemail. So like, at the end of the day, just staying up and being relevant and just kind of figuring out what needs to change. How do you get and diving deeper into social? It's like, you know what? Videos are king. How do you create more content? How do you get out there? I remember talking to you in Denver about that. And you're like, just execute consistently. You're like, brother, it just got like, you don't have to script everything and map everything out, but then you do it for a little bit and then you fall off. Like, you can't, it's all about consistency. And like, one thing I realized, like, the most successful people that I see is like the people that are consistent. And that's what I'm striving to do myself, is to bring the consistency when it comes to that. And it's the people that are like, okay, it doesn't work for a couple of weeks, but they keep plugging at it. And like, I'm thick. Like, I'm like, you know what? Like, it's not getting as far as I wanted to go, but I refuse to give up. And I refuse to not see it really through. Cause I know at the end of the day, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. So to me, it's like, I'd rather just consistently keep executing and tweaking it and improving it, but just keep doing it. And then hopefully, obviously, you'll bear the fruits of the labor later on.
So how do you consistently execute? Like, when things are going smooth in your life, you could just crush it. But sometimes life has these seasons where things are just, how can I say it? It's always like, I think of it like I see visions in my head during stressful moments of the business. Like, I'm imagining it's a moving chessboard, but the whole table is turning at the same time. and then something keeps knocking the pieces off the board, and you have to keep moving forward. So if you have 26 employees and dozens and dozens of jobs that have to be done on that day and so many moving parts, do you rely on your team, and why you just kind of like maybe struggle through until you get in a better headspace, or have you created a strategy where you could just like cut the fat and just do it anyways? How do you navigate through the ups and downs like that?
So I think that I give credit to my wife for that, because I think that the systems and processes that we put in place allow me to be able to see, like, is this something that should be on my plate? Like, she put a lot of like what if scenarios, or if then scenarios, she calls it, for like for the office and for sales. So like, if this happens, do this. If this happens, do this. So like, if it's coming to us, it's got to be burning, and it has to get to us. Like, otherwise it should have been, the team would be responsible for it. And that's what allowed us. Like, I used to be in a place where like I felt like if we went on vacation or went somewhere, I almost wanted no job scheduled. I didn't want to have to worry about anything. But like, that's not how you scale a business. So it's like, once you bring the right people on board, it's like, you know what, now I know when I go to Florida. Yeah.
I don't mean to be rude. I don't want to forget this. I have actually been on vacation, and I've had a crew working, because I've never had I have 26 employees, right? But I had 4 or 5 guys working. I'm on a vacation trying to get some breath. Not that I'm trying to go on vacations all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sneaking off on the phone, and I'm texting, and I'm putting out fires, and end up in an argument with my wife, because I'm like, and my brain somehow synced up. Whenever I go on vacation, just shut the whole business down, or maybe have one guy or 2 guys do something real simple, right?
Yeah.
And each time I did that, it blew up on me, and my brain connected. I can't do this anymore. If I'm going to have any vacation or personal life and I'm out of vacation, I have to. And so it's like, how do you navigate through that?
So that took a little bit, and it took like the right, like hiring the right people, the right systems and processes, and them being a culture where they're like, you know what, like, Fred's here, like they see me grinding all the time, and it's like, I don't want to screw up his vacation. So like, it's like at the end of the day, it's like, we know what to do, and we're going to handle it and hold down the fort while you're gone. And I'll do some check-in calls here and there, but like, I've never gotten in a fight with Christine because I was on the phone too much on vacation. Like, half the time I bring my laptop, like, because I'm grinding before I leave for the trip. And I'm like, oh, when I get down there, I'm going to do this, this, and this. And then I end up not even pulling out my laptop half the time. I'm like, I don't know why I just lugged this all the way to wherever we went. But at the end of the day, it's like, I anticipated needing it. And my team was like, no, we got it on lockdown. Like, I'll have a few check-in calls. They'll tell me like anything I need to know. I'll help them with anything I need to give advice on. And they just hold down the fort. But it wasn't always that way. And I want to stress that too, because for so long, like you felt, it was like, I don't even want to give them anything of substance because I don't want to have to stress about it. But I think by setting up the right systems and processes and hiring the right people, it allowed us to be able to do that. And I'm super proud about that.
That's amazing. So one question that comes up when I hear podcasts like this, and I'll hear someone like you talking about their business and how they hired people and they have systems, I would get emotionally upset and go, yeah, but how did that guy figure out the math part? He's not saying the most important thing is, where did the money come from to be able to afford to pay those people? Because people have higher positions in the business, not that they're better or anything, but like management roles have to get paid more. Where did you learn the infrastructure and the pricing and the money math and the systems, the math and sales systems? I know that's a lot to unpack, so I don't expect you to do that, but you know what I mean? To do that.
Yeah. So like, all right. So for anyone listening, and let's say they're trying to figure some of this stuff off, I think some of the most important things is to like actually start calculating just some of the basic KPIs in your business. So when I say the KPIs, like, what is your closing rate? You should be able to look at how many requests you got and how many jobs you had. That's going to tell you right there. Just divide the two, and you'll be able to see what is your closing rate for as a company. You can break it down residentially, commercially. You can do it by month. You can do all that. But just knowing where your closing rate is going to dictate.
Really, really quick before you go on. So some guys listening to that right now, but okay, I need to do that. And then you go on to the next thing and they're like, wait a second, how do I actually do that and do that consistently? How do you actually do that? What is the system?
So I would go into Jobber, and like, systems and processes sound so complicated, but they're not. Like my wife, like she's the process CEO. Like she broke everything down. And like, it's like, if you think about it, it's like, okay, you did 50 jobs and you had 100 leads. You just divide the two. You had a 50% closing rate. That means you got 1 out of every 2 jobs that you quoted right there. It's as simple as that. Like it couldn't be any more simple. It's like, and to break it down, like for anyone that's trying to do it, go on Jobber, pull up a report, see how many requests you got for whatever period of time, and then look at how many jobs you had for that period of time. It's just those 2 numbers right there, and you're going to be able to see exactly what your close rate is. It's like it couldn't be. You don't need. This isn't some algebraic equation. Like it's legitimately just dividing the number, the work requests by the jobs, and you're going to get your closing rate. And you can get more detailed as you go along, but like at least you can be like, oh, you know what? I have a 40% close rate. I have a 60% close rate, and that close rate, because I was coaching for a while myself, and like I learned and I was teaching that like your close rate is going to dictate your pricing a lot. So like if your close rate, people wear like a badge of honor, like my close rate's 80%. I'm going to look at them like, you're not charging enough. They're like, what do you mean? I'm like, that's too high. Like that means you're leaving money on the table. Like that's too high of a close rate. So to me, the sweet spot is between 40 and 60%. If it's above 60%, then your prices aren't high enough. And if it's below 40%, you either don't have your sales process isn't good, the salesperson isn't good. There's multiple things that could be going wrong there, but there's tweaks that have to be made. That sweet spot is between 40 and 60%. And that's going to tell you a lot of stuff. What about your average ticket? Your average ticket is pretty simple too. How many jobs did you do? Let's say you had 100 jobs, and let's say you did, let's say it was $60,000. Just divide 60,000 by the 100 jobs, and you'll see exactly how many jobs you did and what the average ticket is right there. So like these aren't crazy equations, but it gets you in the mind frame and the knowledge of where your things are at so you can make the necessary tweaks. We also knew that I wanted each crew to be making $2,000 per day. I know if we're sending out 18 to 20 to 10 trucks, 8 to 10 trucks, I know what we're getting in revenue for that day. And I know that we have the money for payroll, insurance, gas, our fixed income, fixed expenses, just everything. I know that we basically allocated for that. And I know that my guys, in order to do that, we reverse engineered it. So reverse engineering it, it's like, okay, well, if I need 2,000 per day per crew and they work an 8-hour day, how much is that per hour? And divide that into the 2 guys. So like, it's not rocket science what we're doing here, but if you try to simplify the numbers, it can get you so much further. It could help so much.
I got to pull a Keith Kalfas real quick. So I actually, a few years ago, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to reverse engineer all the math. If I have a $10 million business, I have all these expenses and this, and I pay myself this much per year. And I crunched all the math. I said, this is how much I need to charge the man hour rate. And I had, I get these, I get a calculator out and I draw graphs and charts. My favorite thing to do on Sunday morning is to get out a calculator and I just go to town and I create all these process mapping, workflow design, dreams. Anyways, so, and I came up with this dollar amount and then I broke it down to services. I'm like, this is going to charge for this service, this much for hour, this much for landscape installs. And the number that I had to charge was way more than I was currently charging. I said, I don't care, because all these guys do it to have all these big businesses and make all this money. All I have to do is just do it, because that's what these guys are really charging. And my closing rate went, boo! It became my closing rate went to, out of every 100 phone calls, there were 16 qualified leads and only closed 2% of the jobs for every 100 phone calls. And I panicked, bro.
I was not going to pay the bills.
I went out and I said, no, I'm sticking to my guns. A whole week, no job sold. Week 2, only sold like 1 or 2 jobs. 3 weeks into this, my guys working, they had no idea. I literally whittled it all the way down to where our calendar was empty, and they did not have a job to be to after noon that day. And I panicked and I called back all the customers, lowered all the prices, and we got just booked out with work. So I panicked and I closed the prices, and it created a belief system. Said, I don't know how these guys do this. How do they charge this much per hour and make this much money? Tell us the secrets, Fred Hodge.
Well, it doesn't have to be such a huge change either. It could be gradual. You can keep pushing it. And if you're checking your closing rate and you're staying in that 40 to 60%, you can kind of keep inching it up and up and up, and you can keep increasing it. At the same time, I agree. Like at the end of the day, it also depends too on like commercial for us. So one of the things I love about commercial, let's say we get a $20,000 commercial cleaning project for an HOA. Well, if we clean that job based off of the 2,000 per day, let's say it's one crew. Sometimes I'll send multiple crews, but just for this example, let's say I send one crew. I'm allocating that I'm going to send them there for 10 working days. Well, what if they finish it in 6 working days? You know what? I'm not returning those 4 working days money. And now I can put residential ones on those spots. So that helps to lift everything too. So like there's ways to help basically reach what your goals are to get where you're trying to go, but without so drastically doing it that all of a sudden, like you said, your closing rate drops and you have no work for anyone either. So there's definitely different ways to kind of do it. And for a while, we were at like 1,500 per crew, and then we raised to 1,800, then we had 2,000. And then I think we went to 24, and it was that we saw our closing rate dropping a little bit. So we kind of brushed it down. So like you kind of have to, it's based off of your market, obviously supply and demand, and and obviously what's going on in your local area. But don't compete with the $99 guy. That's just a race to the bottom.
I created a group called the Untrapped Alliance where we go live every other Wednesday night in a controlled environment. I'm sick of scrolling on social media. I'm sure you are too. Let's get focused on our businesses. We already started the group, so if you join at keithkalfas.com/alliance, you can get access to the replays. And the bonus is we're gonna have special guest experts who run multiple 6- and 7-figure businesses. They're gonna come on and teach us how to do sales, marketing, persuasion, close higher ticket jobs. These are people who got their shit together. And I'm really excited to have them on. Go to keithkalfas.com/alliance. I'll see you on the Wednesday night call. Let's go. What are some of the other KPIs that you were starting to get into and before I went on my tangent?
Yeah. So I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Obviously, I have it all in the spreadsheets, but obviously the closing rate, the average ticket, I'm drawing a blank right now.
That's fine.
I have
What are
map
some of
time,
the-
we kind of review it all the time. What's that?
When you say like systems in your business, earlier when you were a guest on the Untrapped Alliance, you talked about like you had this employee and he didn't do so well and he stopped working for the company. And then when you hired him back for a different position, he crushed it and did great. And you realized he was in the wrong seat on the bus. Like you start to understand these dynamics in your business.
Yeah, it definitely, you start to see as a leader, you kind of have to take that step back and you have to be able to make sure that everyone is where they're supposed to be and make the necessary tweaks. Because as you give out those hats, you're kind of like the puppeteer where you just have to kind of make some tweaks and kind of make sure everyone's doing what they're supposed to, holding everyone accountable and kind of leading basically with a purpose and with enthusiasm and trying to show up. And I go to the shop every morning at 7 a.m. I'm there same time as my operations manager, usually about 6:30. And it's not because I need to be there. They don't actually need me. I want them to see me there. I want to go around and give a fist pump or a high five or shake hands to every employee that walks through that door. Because there's something about that human connection of just like, I appreciate what you're doing. I got your back. And thanks for everything. Good morning. Like there's something to be said for that. They're not asking me the questions. My ops manager is answering the questions. And obviously if it's something crazy, like he'll bring it to my attention, but I'm just there more for like support and to like just show appreciation for everyone.
Okay, so how did you get it up to 2,000 per day? That's at the max I'm hearing guys, exterior cleaning companies, 15 to 1,800. That's are you offering package to every customer? Do you have some type of sales system with like a 21-point sales system your sales guys have to hit like to increase the average ticket? Like what are you doing?
So obviously I'm in New Jersey where the cost of living is extremely high. So like you do have to factor that in for someone that's like in a different, obviously lower cost state. But with that, we're big on bundling our services. So we use a quoting software that links with Jobber called Responsibid. And I offer bundles and I'm able to get these bundles where I'm offering them window washing, roof cleaning, house wash, gutter cleaning, doing their sidewalks, their patio, whatever the case may be. And I'm bundling all these services and giving them option, the diamond package, the fan favorite package, and then the budget package. And those are able to help lift the amount that we're getting per customer, because our average ticket is actually about 14. It was 1,250 last year. So that's what the average ticket is going for. And before I used Responsibid and bundling the services, I think we got it up on our own, just trying to push multiple services, but without like bundling it. I think we got it up to like 700 or 800. And I was super proud about that. And then Responsibid came along and started offering these bundles. And I'm like, oh man, I get it. We increased it by almost $500 a customer, which is unheard of to do that in like 1 year. So like at the end of the day, like just having that, and I don't send my guys to like 3, 4, 5 jobs in one day. Like it's usually either 1 or 2 jobs. And obviously that.
Wait, you didn't look at these softwares or this software stack that you use in your business, say, I'm not spending $200 a month on that.
That's where people are penny smart, dollar foolish. Like at the end of the day, like think about how much more money that if I'm getting basically 500 more per client, it's worth its weight in gold. And plus it even like we use it for the scheduling aspect, and it's like a stoplight. Like when you go to schedule, it pulls it up. It knows which crew you're trying to assign. It knows what services they offer, and it knows the location of the jobs. So basically for the VAs who are over in the Philippines that are doing the schedule, it will pop up green, which means this is a great spot to put on the calendar. It puts up yellow where it's like, all right, this isn't perfect based off of the location, the size, the crew, but you can make this work. And then it pops up red where it's like, you're an idiot if you do this, but you could do it if you need to. And it's like, it's the old stoplight. Like it makes life so much easier. So like basically think about how much money I'm gaining and saving with the Responsibid and not worrying about spending 200 something bucks a month on that. Like it just, people really honestly like try to save a few bucks and they don't realize that they're cutting their nose to spite their face. Like at the end of the day, they're doing the disservice by not getting more per client and being as efficient as possible.
Wow. And you said penny smart and dollar foolish.
Yeah.
It's like jumping over dollars to get to nickels. No,
Yeah.
that's opposite of that. That would be the reciprocal. Okay. So next in the business, when's one time you really messed up and how did you fix it?
So in this line of work, stuff is just going to happen. And like I'll give you a recent one this past year. So like this lady was so nice. The guy, she loved it, guys. She gave an awesome review. And then she sent these pictures from inside her home of like stained carpet. And I was like, what is that? And like, she thought it was like dirt or something. Somehow it ended up being bleach, but like we did the windows and the soft washing, and the interior of the windows was completely dry. Nothing came in through the walls, but like the whole carpet along the way, I got bleached out. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I ended up paying for it. And she had the most severe allergies I've ever heard of in my entire life. She said that in order to get her carpet replaced, she'd have to vacate the home for at least 3 months because it stirs. I'm like, what? I'm like, out of all people to do this to. So like, I ended up having to shell out like $3 or $4 grand for this. But at the end of the day, like, I could just tell that like she was a legit nice lady, and like she wasn't trying to pull one over on us. And it just was some freak thing that I was like, I had 2 of my best guys there, and I have just no idea how that happened.
Was there like a window cracked open when you guys were doing the roof wash with the bleach mixture?
So no, I talked to my head trainer. He was there on that site. He was the one doing the interior windows. He said that they removed all the screens. Procedure and the system is to lock all windows. He said they were locked. He said there was no water intrusion whatsoever. And at the end of the day, it's a mystery on how it got all over this carpet. And it wasn't like it was like it was on the bucket, or it was like it was clearly all over the rug, but it didn't just come in from the window. So like I don't know what happened there, but sometimes you just got to chalk it up and say, you know what, like Mrs. Jones, I got you on this, and we still have a 5-star review from this lady. So at the end of the day, it's not like she took that down.
You still got a 5-star review.
Yeah.
How many 5-star reviews does your business have?
I think we have 980. So if we'll have 20 more, we'll hit 1,000. And that's all. It's on one of our Google pages. I have a second one that's got like 300. So technically we have over 1,000, but on the main page is at 980.
That's a huge accomplishment. 1 second. Hey, Untrapped podcast listeners. You transform properties, but getting consistent clients can be tough. How do you get more eyes on your amazing outdoor services? Footbridge Media specializes in helping contractors like you dominate your local market online. They build professional, optimized websites that convert visitors into leads, handling everything from design and SEO to review management. Stop being trapped by a lack of leads. Grow your home service business with a strong online presence. Open your browser and visit footbridgemedia.com/Keith today. I gotta say this. It popped up in my mind. I'm like, don't say it. But you know who Brandon Vaughn is?
Of course.
Yeah, of course. And he said, here he has this public story that he's told on stage. So obviously, I'll say, have you ever heard his one soft washing, power washing nightmare story?
I probably have, because Brandon was the type that I was looking up to for a really long time, and if he could jump, I'd say how high, because I was like, I want to know what he's doing.
All right, I'll just save the story. It's one that I think I was there at a live event and he was telling the story. I'm like, bro, I thought I've had some stuff happen in my business, and I was like, whoa. And what it really highlighted to me is like, everybody at a different stages of business, they have to navigate through stuff. And the truth is, like, do you stop and stick your head in the sand, or do you keep moving forward? So like, and when you're growing your business, 2.4 mil, 26 employees, multiple services, were there times where you had to, you were tempted to stick your head in the sand and you had to force yourself to face it? Like, how did you get the right information when you didn't know?
So at my office behind my desk, I'm in our home office right now, but at my office at our shop, I have a picture of a buffalo behind me. And the buffalo symbolizes something. The buffalo, when a storm is coming, it actually runs towards the storm. So it actually shortens the life of the storm by hitting it dead on quicker. All the other animals are dumb. And the cows and all them, they run with the storm. So they're actually stuck in the storm longer because they're trying to run away from the storm, but they're actually getting caught in it longer because they're running with the storm. So the fact that the buffalo runs straight at the storm, it's in the storm way shorter. So I want to be a buffalo, and I'd rather hit it on dead center right away. And you know what? I've learned a long time ago, this stuff doesn't just go away. You could pray, you could hide, but it's just going to come back, and it's probably going to come back even worse than it was initially. So if you be the buffalo, you're just way more likely to be able to navigate some issues that you're going to have in your business, and you're going to look better at it too, because it's not going away.
Wow. So, oh man, let's say you're growing your business and you are at the point where you're wearing too many hats and you get overwhelmed, and you're going to have to hire, like, you've got lead techs, like crew leaders, and now you've got to pay attention to everything, and you have to maybe hire somebody like an assistant, a division assistant manager, or maybe you have to hire somebody, maybe the office manager's overwhelmed, and then you have to get somebody else in the office. What do you do in that moment when your plate is already so full, and you somehow got to fit this other thing on your plate too, and you don't even have time to tie your shoes, bro?
Yeah, but that's when you know you're doing it right, though, if that makes sense. So often people are like jumping the gun and they're like, oh, I'm going to hire this office manager. I'm going to hire this salesperson. It's like, you don't need that. When you're drowning, it's like now all of a sudden you've hit that threshold where your company actually needs that role. You've developed enough demand and there's enough time that it's worth sacrificing. Okay, you might have a lot of things on your plate by bringing this person on for that particular role in the company. It's going to take that much off your shoulders. So yes, in the short term, there might be a little bit more pain setting up this new person and getting it, but it's that the purpose is to pass that hat along and to be able to be free and have that ability to have less load on your shoulders because you're starting to drown. And obviously you're getting a little bit of a life raft. And the last thing you want to do is train someone else. But that's the most important time to do it because that's when your company is the most. Like people always ask, like, how do you know when you need office help? How do you know when to get a salesperson? How do you know when you need an ops manager? Trust me, you know, because you get to a point where you just can't handle it anymore. If you want to scream because and punch the wall, it's like because you're reaching your breaking point at that point, and it's like you're due for that. So each time I hired someone in the office, operations, and sales, I knew at that time it was the right time because I maxed out my full capacity on what I can handle, and it was time to give out those hats.
And then what about the money part where you're like, I got to write a $65,000 a year check for this?
That part sucks when you think about it initially, but you know what? If you're actually hiring the right person, it's worth all the weight in gold. I have a sales guy that's making killer money, and it was scary as hell to give him the money that we gave him. Like seriously scary. And I'm like, all right, like I'm a little scared to do this. You know what? He came in that first year and he was kicking down doors and did exactly what I had a feeling he was going to do. And it was completely worth it. And I think Brandon Vaughn said that, like, find people that are better than you at what they do. And it might cost you more money, but if they're good, it's not even an expense. And it's so true. Like if they're actually good at what they do, that 65 grand is nothing. And if you're paying someone 150 or more, that's nothing too, if it's really the right person for that seat.
So at some point, did you ever have to give up being a control freak? Or were you ever not had that? Was that never an issue?
So yes and no. I feel like I'm a control freak where I need to be a control freak, but at the same time, I'm also I'm not a micromanager. That's never been me to micromanage. That means if I need to micromanage you, that means you're not the right employee in my mind. Like, so that means you have a decision to make. So at the end of the day, I will help, I will guide, I will give the resources to. But if it gets to the point where I need to micromanage you, it probably means that you're not a good fit for the company.
Dude, I gotta admit something embarrassing. So a couple years ago, there was rain coming, really heavy rain, but then it kind of stopped. And then it was like, we couldn't tell. And it was one of those things where I looked at the radar, I was like, all right, just come back, right? Because I was out selling jobs and I told the guys to come back. And then all of a sudden, I couldn't get a hold of them at all. There's the crew leader and then the other guy. And then they didn't show back up at the shop. And I'm like, what's going on? Now 45 minutes passes. I start panicking. And I somehow in my head, I just confabulated that they had gotten in a serious car wreck. My heart started pounding. I went into anxiety and I literally got in my truck and I started driving up and down the main roads, looking at the GPS, looking for the worst catastrophe. I catastrophize, right? And my heart was pounding. And my one guy calls me up. He's like, I'm at home. I'm like, where's the other guy? I don't understand. So the other guy looked at the job list and he just said, it's not raining. He just took it upon himself to go to the next job and he left his work phone in the work truck and he went by himself. It was a 2-man crew. And then I called that customer that I had already rescheduled for the next day because the rain was coming. He was already scheduled for the next day or something. And like I said, hey, it's Keith, Kalfas Professional Services. Real quick, I know this is a random phone call. By chance is one of my guys out there working? He's like, yeah, he's out here working right now. And I was like, oh, great, awesome, great deal. And if we don't finish today, we'll be right back tomorrow morning to finish the job. And so everything was perfectly fine. And because I couldn't get a hold of the guy, I went into a catastrophizing worst case scenario. And at some point, my brain linked up, oh, if you have like 10 trucks on the road, that's 10 times 10 the amount of, things. So have you ever dealt with anything like that?
I've definitely been like all over the place with like trying to make sure that everyone's where they're supposed to in communication. But no, at the end of the day, it's like I've made some bad calls, but I feel like I'm part weatherman too. Like my wife always jokes, she's like, she'll be like, is it going to rain tomorrow? I'm like, yes or no. And I'm like, I'll tell her, we're going to get a storm at this time or no. Like, because for our lines of work, being outdoors, doing a service, like you have to know what the weather's going to be like. So for me, I'm pretty good. Every once in a while, you'll mess up. You won't think a storm's coming and it hits, or you'll think it is, and then sunshine. But overall, I think at the end of the day, we have GPS trackers in the trucks too. So I was able to see where the crews are at on my phone if I need to check if they're coming back or what the speed is or any of that stuff. So overall, I think kind of that's part of our system and process, and I feel pretty good about that.
You have a healthy relationship with fear.
Yeah, I'm not scared of very much, to be honest with you. At the end of the day, there's far worse things going on in the world that I'm like, you know what? I think everything will be all right.
What are some tips that you can give to people listening right now before we wrap this up to really go all in on their business? If they're super concerned about certain things, to just navigate, go to like think about all that real quick and just like drive it home. I'm excited to hear.
I think it's a mindset. I think everyone's mindset has to be aligned with where they're trying to go. I also think continuing to evolve in education between reading and classes and even tomorrow, me and my wife are about to hop on a flight. We're going to go teach a course or teach a class down at the PWNA and IWCA convention down in Orlando, Florida. And we're going to teach on the hiring process and all that through the process CEO. And I want to be able to offer and continue. And I want to sit on in some classes. I want to network and hear what other people say. Like, I love meeting you in Denver. I remember being in that circle in the room and picking everyone's brain because everyone's like asking us questions about this and that. And then I'm like, I looked everyone up on Instagram. I'm like, all right, you guys like all have like an insane amount of followers. Like, what can you guys teach me now? And like, I learned so much about like execution and potential coaches and different styles and like everything. So like just continuing to educate yourself and learn and surround yourself, not always physically, but just in your circles of people to basically connect with and bounce ideas and see what they're doing. And you brought up Brandon before. Like, I literally would try to emulate anything Brandon Vaughn was doing because like that was my industry and he was where I wanted to go. So it was like, if that's what he was doing, it's like, how do I emulate that? And then I end up connecting with him and coaching his Conquer program, obviously for a while. And like, I've enjoyed that whole ride. And now I love working with other entrepreneurs and being able to help guide them and getting them past the $1 million mark and past that and to keep growing. So I think just continuing education. There's so many guys out there that are so skeptical about so many people, but if you find the right ones where you know that they're going where you want to go, I think you go for the ride and you execute. And I think if you consistently execute, I think I said that before, but the difference between winners and losers in my mind are the difference between people that consistently execute and don't. A lot of people are quick to do something real quick and give up, didn't work. Well, how long did you do it for? I did it for a week, didn't work. Or I did it for a week and then we got busy. No, like whether it worked initially, whether you got busy, whatever, like if you're going to consistently execute, those are the ones that are going to be winners and they're going to succeed.
Bro, you have this positive momentum. You're on the ball. That saying on the ball, it's like,
Yeah.
it's a real thing and it's palpable and I could feel it. And I know that your team feels it. It's a breath of fresh air to have you on the Untrapped podcast. I truly appreciate it. And I genuinely appreciate you. Can you tell everybody how to find you and find your business? You have social medias to share?
Yeah, absolutely. We're on literally every platform from Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn, by the way, for people looking to try to do business with other businesses. It's a great one. But I'm literally on all of them at Fred Hodge Jr., at Clearview Washing, and at the Process CEO. You can find me at all three of them on every single platform. So I'd love to connect. I'd love to say hello, and I'd love to share the journey and see if there's anyone I could help.
Real quick, your last name again for the people who are listening but can't see. Fred Hodge, H-O-D.
Yeah, so Hodge, Fred Hodge Jr.
On all platforms.
Literally all of them, yep.
Brother, thanks so much for being on the Untrapped podcast. I truly appreciate it. And, if you love the show, go on. Apple Podcasts or Spotify, anywhere you listen, please leave the show a well-worded review. And we're just now crossing 1 million downloads, so really excited about that. I started this podcast in 2014, pacing around, cussing into my phone and uploading it, and just kept going and going and going. And so thank you so much, Fred. Until next time, peace.
Thanks, Keith.
Hey, I hope you liked the show. And if you like the Untrapped podcast and you get value from it, can you please take a minute and go over to Spotify and leave it a well-worded positive 5-star review? It helps boost the rankings on Spotify so the show can get to more people. Therefore, these messages can get out to more people and inspire more people so they can go out and start their small businesses and crush it and get to the next level. It's a huge deal. All right, I'll see you in the next show.